I'm Andrew Catchpole,
Okay.
editor of Harpers, and I'm joined by Santiago Mora Poveda, president of the Rueda DO. Hi, Santiago. And,
hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hi, very good, thank you. Good to be speaking. So we're going to be talking about the success of Spain's leading white style, plus how those styles are evolving. And this forms part of our Spanish report 2021 for Harpers. So I guess let's kick off with perhaps an obvious question. Rueda. Rueda's Spain's #1 selling white wine. What is it about the style that's driven such popularity? Why is it so popular?
Well, actually, I think it's the result of so many years, actually some centuries. Rueda is one of the most historical regions, wine regions in Spain. The Verdejo grape, the autochthonous grape, arrived to Rueda 10 centuries ago. And since then, I mean, Rueda has been, the wine of the court in times of the Catholic Kingdom, with the Dorados, the famous Dorados and Pálidos, but with these other styles, I mean, fortified wine style. And then in the 70s, Riscal, Heredero del Marqués de Riscal, arrived to Rueda region looking for, an ideal location for white wine or white grapes all over Spain. And they rediscovered Rueda. Rueda with some small wineries already here working with, the Verdejo and some other grapes. And together with Émile Pinot, the famous enologist from Bordeaux, well, they rediscovered the Verdejo with an ideal, with the idea of, in Europe, in France, in Germany, in the north of Europe, the gastronomy was changing, and the white wine, the fresh white wines, were becoming more and more popular all over Europe, but not so far in Spain. And it's like it's the preparation for the following years, and trying to discover this kind of Verdejo, the potential of the Verdejo grape, in order to elaborate young wines, young white wines. And in 1980, the region, the appellation was created, the oldest appellation in Castilla y León. And it has been in the last year from this point a continuous evolution. I mean, because of the gastronomy trends, the tapas importance in Spain as well, because Rueda is very famous with tapas as well. But all these changes of gastronomy, the substitution of meat by fish, by vegetables, by another kind of gastronomy, totally different, has converted Rueda in the leading region, of course. When we talk about white wine in Spain, we are speaking about the 40% of market share of quality white wines, attending to Nielsen figures. So, the leading by far. But if we speak about wines in general, we are talking about the second most important region after Rioja. Why? Because now the white wine share in Spain is about the 30% of the total market, 30. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, more probably it was like 10 or 12% of the total consumption in Spain, and now it accounts by 30% of the total market. It's becoming more and more popular, the white wine, the young white wine, and Rueda and the Verdejo from Rueda is the key grape, the key wine to understand this success of Rueda.
That's really interesting, because when we look also at sort of outside investment, you've had that growth in whites, and thus Rueda at the forefront, if you like, of that wave. And you mentioned Rioja, obviously, as Spain's, I think, possibly de facto flagship region. But obviously, so many Rioja producers and producers with portfolios around the country have also invested in Rueda. So presumably that's helped to sort of raise Rueda to prominence, sitting alongside the the red flagship region, which is sort of fascinating development. I mean, what is it about Rueda and specifically Verdeco as well, the sort of character? What are the strengths of that, and how does it sit so well with this sort of not just tapas, but our modern grazing style of eating and fresher, healthier food? I mean, is it just a natural partner for its stylistic, strengths?
Well, actually, the Verdejo grape is like a very versatile grape. It was very famous 6 centuries ago with the Dorados, 45 wines. The Dorados and Pálidos are becoming more and more popular in these recent years as well. But at the same time, you can use it to elaborate sparkling wines. You can use it to elaborate aging wines. The potentiality of the Verdejo is still to be discovered. Of course, the fresh, young, easy to drink wines are right now 95% of the total production, okay? The total sales, because, it's like it pays very well with tapas, with the new gastronomy trends. But now the consumer in Spain and in some parts of Europe as well, is like, they like Rueda, they like Verdejo from Rueda, but they want to try some other elaborations with the Rueda Verdejo grape, of course. But this kind of overlees with more potential to age, with the barrel fermented, but with maybe food rest and other sizes of barrels as well, and you mentioned before that so many wineries from Rioja, but from all over Spain, they all are here. They want to be part of the success of Rueda. Why? Because they need a Rueda in their portfolio to sell all over the world, not only in Spain, but all over the world. So González Díaz, Marqués de Cáceres, Ramón Bilbao, but also from Ribera del Duero, Protos, and even from Catalonia, Torres, some years ago already came. From France as well, we have here Andrade Lurton, also Francois Lurton, from France as well, from the south of Spain. I mean, all the most important wineries all over Spain and from other parts of Europe are here. Because the potentiality of the Verdejo grape here is very important. We are talking about a unique grape, an aromatic grape, totally different to any other from all over the world, with an own and strong character and very, very strong personality. I mean, it's very easy to identify a Verdejo from Rueda so far, because of the combination. The Verdejo grape has been here for 1,000 years, combining with the soil, with the evolution of the weather, the change of the weather, the altitude. We are in the plateau, 700 to 900 meters of altitude. All these combination with the soils, the pedregoso soils of Rueda and the sandy soils of the other part in the east and south part of Rueda region. This combination make, a unique personality, a unique wine. And once everyone in Spain has been convinced of the quality and the tremendous versatility of the grape, they are looking for new elaborations, and our winemakers are trying to, to fulfill these requirements from the market and from the consumer, especially in Spain. But it's true that this trend has already, for example, in the Swiss market, they are already very fans of the barrel fermented or prephyroxeric wines from Rueda, maybe much more than here in Spain. In Spain is, the normal evolution, because we were not a very strong country consuming white wines. No, it's like we are still like, discovering and looking for new elaborations from Verdejo, from Rueda in general.
And I think this is really exciting at the moment because, I would say many people, if we talk about the UK market where we're based, many people will have discovered Rueda and Verdejo, sometimes in conjunction with another popular aromatic grape variety, which has been a door opener, but then people understand the sort of framework, the shape and style of the character of the grape. But now, when we're beginning to see, as you say, these new elaborations with perhaps more lees work, with food through a barrel ferment, etc., then we're seeing wines that are taking it to a new sort of a new level and a different way of thinking about these Ruedas. And it's really interesting because the newish quality tier, Gran Vino Rueda, I mean, presumably, could you talk a little bit about that? Because it all seems that that's a way of sort of tying in this push for recognition of the premium qualities that can be achieved in the Rueda DO. Yeah, so if you, over to you again, Santiago, but what's that all about? Yes.
Well, the Gran Vino de Rueda was launched 1 year ago. Okay, so the new wines, we are seeing the first wines from Gran Vino de Rueda, but it's the result of this. I mean, of course, the consumers are looking for new elaborations, and Rueda, has noted this and want to, to offer the best. How? Gran Vino de Rueda means that only the grapes that come from vineyards minimum 30 years old. 30 years old, probably those located in the best areas of Rueda region, the best soils, but also with a maximum yield of 6,500. The current and the normal is 10,000 for Verdejo, okay? And then also the transformation rate from kilos to liters, maximum 65%. Only the best, most is gonna be used. We are giving the winemakers the best raw material, the best. And with this raw material, they have to produce the best wines, of course. Looking for this combination of versatility, but also the aging. I think it's a skill of this grape is still to be discovered, and still to be discovered because every year in the last 20 years, Rueda has sold out all the production year by year. So it's very difficult to try to see how the Verdejo from Rueda develops with the pass of the years. So there are some examples of in Rueda that we are using very successfully, and when we are able to make this kind of vertical tastings are incredible. I mean, it's like crazy. People become enthusiastic with the idea and with the results of the vertical tasting. So we are also trying to use this skill, this potentiality of the Verdejo grape in order, with the versatility and the aging of the Verdejo grape in order to give this Gran Vino de Rueda. There are some examples already in the market, but we are very, we are convinced that in the coming year, we are going to be able to develop a broad portfolio of Gran Vino de Rueda in order to be able to show to the market, to the British market as well.
No, I think it's a very, very exciting development, and we're all watching, and yes, in anticipation of tasting more at this level. So that's great. And I think you mentioned, I mean, there's life beyond Verdejo as well, and this is another thing which we perhaps haven't seen that much of in the UK and perhaps other overseas markets. But if we just throw out Pulido Dorado, Sparkling, Rosada, even Red, I believe. So is it time these other styles become better known, this sort of diversity? What does that add? Because I mean, at the moment, I suppose it's good to have one clear message that there's Rueda, Verdejo is a really key part of that character. and you're looking at higher quality tiers and evolving the styles of these wines. But there are other exciting things going on in a smaller way, aren't there, which are all part of the region. So is it time for us to leap in and discover some greater diversity?
Of course, Andrew. And of course, it's time to recognize that we are the result of so many centuries of evolution. I mean, we are talking about Rueda, one of the most historical regions, wine regions in Spain and all over the world. And the best way to recognize, to be, you know, honest with your history is to recover and to give more and more, pay attention more and more in the traditional styles of the Rueda, the Dorado and the Pálido. The Dorado didn't disappear, of course, from our regulations, but the Pálido disappears. In the last 10 years, it wasn't permitted to elaborate Pálidos. And the change of the rules 3 years ago, they reintroduced the possibilities of elaborate Pálidos as well. And we have also one Pálido now in the market. Well, we are talking about, you know, 45 wines, legal wines, recognized by the European Union like unique, because the traditional term is protected by the European Union. The Dorado, this word Dorado belongs to the Rueda wines, actually. And there are 3 different winemakers so far making this elaboration. The Dorado, the difference between Dorado and Pálido is the fortification. In the case of Dorado, is made with the oxidation, it's a process of oxidation. And when we talk about the Pálido, the process is I don't find the word in English, excuse me.
Don't worry.
The evolution is the Pálido is very similar to the sherry, style, you know, and biological, not the oxidation, but the biological evolution. Okay, so you know, with these wines, with these 3 wines, we were obtaining so many prizes all over the world. The Canter has shown in the last years like the best wine with the top score, one of the Dorados in Rueda. And everyone, I think, is paying all over the world, especially in Europe, in the UK, in the USA, in China, in Japan. They are paying more and more attention to these elaborations. And we want to be, you know, honest with our history, because they were the wines used in the times of the Catholic kingdoms. That means of course, the best for this region, because this region was made the wines for all over the world in the times of Cologne and the Catholic Kingdom, and then the Charles I and Philip II. When we cannot forget that in those times, the capital of Castilla was Medina del Campo. That is part of, is one of the villages, part of the region, of the Rueda region, as is the same as, you know, as Madrigal de las Altas Torres, the place in which Elizabeth the Queen was born, and is also part of the region. We are talking about, you know, very popular wines in those times that were, you know, mentioned by Cervantes in some of his, you know, his books, or Quevedo in the golden century of Spain. You know, we are talking about our history. We have to be honest with our history, and at the same time, and we are able to adapt to the new trends in the market, and to, you know, to take the best from the Verdejo way in order to adapt to these trends in the market. we had to be, of course, solid and very honest with our history. And at the same time, the sparkling wines, for example, that were very, I think, more important some years ago. The problem with these wines was that, as I told you before, that the problem is that every year Rueda was selling everything. So, if you are able to sell the production of the young wines every year, you prefer to sell these to invest 3-4 years in order to make these sparkling elaborations or what, But even so, well, we have a small production, interesting productions. And then, also the red wine production that is also very small, but interesting at the same time. And this, Andrew, a very interesting thing that, Sarah Jane, Master of Wine, has told me some months ago, because she attended a tasting in Castilla y León, that the Castilla y León government is trying to recover some, autochthonous grapes, forgotten grapes, and they have rediscovered a red grape called Cinderella, that well, she was enthusiastic. It was like a very unique grape, and well, now we are progressing, making all this, in order to be able to elaborate this red grape. I hope in the coming years it's going to be a new in order to offer new red wines from Rueda in the coming years. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting what you're saying, and it's also just not. I mean, obviously, Spain experts like Sarah Jane Evans, and it's fantastic to have MWs and experts in the region excited about these happenings. But also, we're at a time where wine drinkers are being really adventurous and looking for authenticity and little points of different and individual characters. So I think while obviously White Rueda, Verdeco, this is mainstream and will continue to be so, but all these additional points of interest and excitement that kind of surround it sort of flesh the region out. And for those who want to take a deeper dive, there's even more on offer for discovery, for those true sort of wine lovers and adventurers. So it's really exciting. I suppose so I think we've covered quite a lot. I suppose a really obvious point to start to wrap up would be how's the current harvest looking? So as we speak, 2021, what's on the cards for this year?
Well, you know that Spain is, and Verdejo from Rueda is very focused here in Spain, selling most of the production on trade. And once the coronavirus crisis arrives, well, it's like, we were selling almost 70% of our total production in Spain on trade. So it was like a disaster at the beginning. Yeah. It was like, only 15% of the total production is export, 15. And at the same time, from this 85%, 70 is focused on trade. But even so, people and consumers wanted to have the Rueda, the Verdejo from Rueda, and we only decreased last year by 10%. Yeah. 10% was, a very good result, taking into account our starting point where the coronavirus arrived. So we were very happy. And then I think it's a success of the Rueda, of the label, because, people wanted to have Rueda, and the off-trade channel, the supermarkets and the online retailers as well, they were obliged to open the portfolio of Rueda in order to be able, to give the final consumer these Rueda wines. No, well, and then since this year, since March and then April, Rueda has been establishing records every month from March, April, increasing sales and establishing new records. From April 2021, we are in maximum figures of our historic data. So, well, now our figures, we have closed August with, I want to see exactly the figures.
Okay.
But it's like, yes, we closed August with 73.5 million bottles. That it was the record of our historic figures, 5% more than 19. That was our previous record. So, we are increasing, and now it's increasing. We're now with more than 6% increasing all over the year. I mean, this kind of effect, even with the, with the on-trade market in Spain, is still fighting, because, it's like we have been for the last months with the on-trade closed or semi-closed, or with this kind of situation that it was not totally free, and what we say, the barras, what we call it in Spain, the barras, that for us is the most important point of sale of Rueda, is still closed. We have been able to be increasing sales and beating our previous records. So, well, we are confident for the coming months. We are very confident for the coming years, for the coming months and for the coming year, to be able, to surpass our previous figures, and to able to, of course, to maintain the quality, the value for money of the main characteristics of our wines, in order to be able to maintain and increase the confidence by our consumers. That is the most important question, that the fidelity of our consumers. And I want to, because I think it's a very interesting data. I'm gonna give you one interesting figures. We make research every 2-3 years with Nielsen, in order to be able to understand the success of Rueda, the Verdejo grape, and also to understand the success of our promotional activities, of course. And they always conclude with a very interesting research that that says that Rueda and the Verdejo from Rueda is the wine that fidelize the most to the consumer. I mean, once you try for the first time a Verdejo from Rueda, 70% of the people repeat and they stay. And then more than 80% of the people recommend this wine to their friends and family. These figures are unique in Spain. I mean, by far, we have the wines that convince the most to the consumer. Once you try, you stay, you repeat. And that's, I mean, one of the key questions to understand the success of the Verdejo from Rueda in the Spanish market. You try and you repeat. And of course, it's like, I mean, especially in these young people, that is like the first wine they try and they introduce in the wine consumption through, in the majority of the cases, through the white wine and through Rueda, Verdejo from Rueda.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. As you say, Santiago, the real success is not getting someone to try the first bottle, which you can do through marketing and a clever label, etc., etc. It's getting the repeat repeat custom, if you like. Someone going, wow, I liked that fit the bill. I'm diving back in. And sorry, excuse me, a little bit of a frog, as we say, a frog in the throat here this morning. I don't know. I think it's the onset of autumn, actually. It's we've lost the sun here in the UK for another half a year. But Santiago, that's fantastic, and obviously really exciting what's already been happening in terms of evolution of Rueda. I think perhaps a lot of people listening as well may not fully realise the heritage and history of the region as well, and that's, I think, another really interesting part of the story, a fascinating part of the story, having that sort of anchor to the region. And I think with all that's going on and the greater visibility of different and evolving styles, and the Gran Vino Rueda as well, which you know will become more and more recognised, and as more wines fall under that umbrella, that can only be a good thing for the region, creating this sort of halo of quality, and recognition of that. So it's so there's an awful lot there, and that's all good. So thank you very much, Santiago, for your time. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add, but otherwise, I think we've taken quite a nice dive into the DO, into Rueda, and what's on offer. So
just to say thank you, Andrew. I take the opportunity to invite you to come and to check by yourself what all that we have been talking about. I think the best way to understand and to see is to come and to attend these, vertical tasting visits to the vineyards and so on. So I take the opportunity to invite you to come, Andrew, and you'll see by yourself what we have been talking about today.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Santiago, and hopefully then see you soon in person while we're actually tasting. So that would be superb. Excellent. Okay, well, see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you very much,
Thank
Andrew.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.